This bulletin proudly brought to you in association with Alex Campbell's Menswear.
Tonight on The South Today, Dunedin's first co-housing development is nearing completion, with residents hoping to move in early next year. A Dunedin Commerce student and representative rower is in training for a rather long trip this summer. And a retired couple attempting to beautify a car park along the North Otago coast have been set back by thieves for a second time. Kia ora, good evening, I'm Melissa Barton. Dunedin's first co-housing development is nearing completion, with residents hoping to move in early next year. With 2 of the 24 units possibly coming up for sale, people are being invited to learn more about the advantages and philosophy behind co-housing.
7 years into planning, Dunedin's Toiora High Street co-housing neighbourhood is nearing completion, with residents hopefully moving in before winter next year. Because a few of the intended occupiers have now changed their plans, 2 of the units might be rented out, and another 2 units might be put on the market. But unit owner Gay Buckingham says those interested in applying need to realise there's a strong expectation of neighbourliness.
The important thing is that people need to know about co-housing before they know about the units, because we're not trying to just sell property on the open market. We're committed to a philosophy of co-housing which is built on sustainability and the caring for those around you and knowing your neighbours.
Buckingham says New Zealanders are beginning to appreciate the value of community spirit, as well as the thermal efficiency and triple glazed windows of a passive house.
A concept that New Zealanders have struggled with for a while, but I think increasingly, because of the cost of housing and because people realise that things like the passive house standard that we're building to are important, I think there's much greater acceptance than there was.
And despite their cookie-cutter exterior, Buckingham says each of the 24 units will be unique.
It's great. It's going to be so interesting. The architecture's interesting and clever. The different varieties and sizes of properties means that you're going to be, even though they look similar, when you go in you're going to find different layouts and people with their different tastes and things.
A workshop to learn about the advantages and philosophy behind the co-housing development is set to be held on Sunday the 22nd of November. In Dunedin, The South Today.
The Dunedin City Council has publicly notified receiving the consent to demolish the former Cadbury factory at 280 Cumberland Street. The proposal is for the demolition of buildings comprising the former Cadbury factory. This application relates to those buildings where the facades to Cumberland and Castle Street are listed as a heritage item in the district plan. All of the buildings are to be demolished except for the dairy and machine house building at the southern end of the site on Castle Street. Consent is also sought for demolition activity to breach rules in the district plan for construction noise and vibration. The demolition work is intended to enable the construction of new buildings that will form part of the proposed Dunedin Hospital. On its website, the council states the submission period for this application has closed and a hearing and decision are pending. A Dunedin Commerce student and representative rower is in training for a rather long trip this summer. Ben Mason is planning to row around the entire South Island to raise funds and awareness for breast cancer.
19-year-old Ben Mason is in training for a marathon rowing trip around the South Island in remembrance of his mother and to raise funds for the New Zealand Breast Cancer Foundation.
Unfortunately, I lost my mum to breast cancer when I was 6, so it's quite close with our family. So it wasn't really a tough decision. It was just straight away. I was more thinking of something to do for breast cancer rather than what cause to do it for.
Mason's had plenty of experience in rowboats, having been a New Zealand rowing representative at the Junior World Rowing Championships 2 years ago. But his circumnavigation of the South Island will have to be in a more robust boat than the slim watercraft he normally rows on Otago Harbour.
The boat is a coastal rowing boat, which is a wee bit different to the boat I'm used to. Probably 4 times as heavy and 3 times as wide, so it's a wee bit slower through the water. But at the end of the day, it'll be what keeps me safe and gets me around.
Mason is hoping to start his trek in the second week of January, accompanied by his father and a family friend as support crew, camping along the shoreline most nights to save money.
When I first thought about it, I thought I could do that in 30 days. Then I thought about it and I thought, okay, maybe we'll go for 40 days. But now I'm thinking it's probably going to take me closer to 50 days. If I can get under 50 days, I'll be pretty happy.
Mason's hoping to raise about $20,000 towards breast cancer research. In Dunedin, the South Today.
Dunedin residents can expect their power bills to increase by between $240 and $870 a year over the next 5 years. The Commerce Commission has released its draft decision on how much Aurora Energy can increase line charges in order to pay for fixing its ageing network. In Dunedin, customers are likely to see an average increase of $260 a year, while Wanaka and Central residents could see a $370 increase. Aurora has asked the regulator to increase what it charges customers in order to spend $308 million over 3 years, or about $600 million over 5 years. If adopted, the draft proposal could reduce the amount to $520 million over 5 years. The Commerce Commission says Aurora could save money by being more efficient. A retired couple attempting to beautify a car park along the North Otago coast have been set back by thieves for a second time. The 17 trees were recently replanted after a similar raid in 2018.
Thieves have once again stolen the trees Lynette Bates and her husband John had planted to beautify this spot overlooking Kātiki Beach near Shag Point, where her grandmother once had a house. After the first theft in 2018, she expressed her disappointment at the destruction of all her efforts.
I come out here, it was just soul destroying because we'd spent so many hours up here just volunteering and doing it all and trying to make it nice, and someone could just rip it out in one fell swoop was just a bit overwhelming, really.
Having replanted all the stolen trees, she's now been set back again by recently discovering a second theft of all 17 plants.
And I had saved up my money to buy the plants. It wasn't as if they were paid for by the council or anything.
A reward is now being offered for information about the latest thefts.
So you don't take that many trees home and just plant them in the front yard with nobody noticing. So someone's either pinched them to sell on, or they've got a big 10-acre block and they're filling it up, I'm not sure.
The New Zealand Transport Agency, which owns the land, said in 2018 the plants had not been removed by them. In Shag Point, the South Today.
Still to come on the South Today, a proposed sale of the Selwyn College building is being strongly opposed, and Amberley's Highland Games bring out competitors of all sorts. So catch this and more after the break.
A poorly maintained heat pump can lose up to 35% of its output. The Mr. Heat Pump Cleaner team are experts. Their specially developed chemical wash is totally biodegradable. Call Mr. Heat Pump Cleaner and get the job done by the professionals.
Hi, Alec Campbell Menswear. We're back in George Street on the corner of Hanover Street. Come and check out our big store. It's a big space full of bargains. Now look at these shirts. There's shirts for everybody here. Look at these merino pullovers, stacks of moleskins, literally tons of trousers. Check out these big racks of sports jackets. Beautiful.
Every reason reason, every season, we're proud to dress the region. Alex Campbell Menswear, it fits.
So come and check out Alex Campbell Menswear. We're back on George Street in the old ANZ building.
If you're at risk of developing melanoma skin cancer, you owe it to yourself to have a mole map. Mole map is coming to your area. Phone today to make an appointment. It could save your life.
Every reason, every season, we're proud to dress the region. Alex Campbell Menswear, it fits.
Allied Press and the Otago Daily Times are, an integral part of business in Otago and the South, and these awards are really our opportunity to celebrate and amplify what goes on in this part of the world and the successes that we have.
You've seen us in the street, now find us online. Check out shopon.org.nz. We have all sorts of treasures, from retro and vintage clothing to antiques, homewares and accessories. New items added every week. We're open 24/7.
Inside are all sorts of innovations from all over China.
Welcome back. The Selwyn College Board of Governors has agreed to actively oppose the sale of the Dunedin Residential College. Board Chairwoman Anne Stevens says she will put forward a strong argument at a meeting at St Matthew's Church this weekend for the Anglican Church to retain the university hostel. She says the college has a special character that would be lost following a sale. Stevens says when the sale was proposed more than 2 years ago, the college presented a risk to the reputation of the local Anglican church. But she says the situation has now turned around 100%, and she adds there are some traditions, including initiations, that are no longer permitted, and there is now a different tone at the college. All things Scottish were on display at the annual Highland Games in mid-Canterbury over the weekend. The event has grown in the past 8 years to include representatives from 21 different Scottish clans.
Now very much an annual fixture in mid-Canterbury, the annual Hororata Highland Games were held on Saturday. Scottish clans were out in force at the specially set up St Andrew's Square, with Scottish cuisine and beverages on offer. Advice was also available for people to trace their family history. New Zealand Society of Genealogists member Natasha Wells says during lockdown there was an upsurge in the potentially addictive hobby of researching family history.
Perhaps with all the family around the house you start telling stories and asking questions. There have been a few people who have got interested recently, which has been exciting. I do always give people the caveat that it can become addictive, so be wary and be prepared and open-minded for whatever surprises you might have. They're not common, they're not often, but they can happen.
Clan Keith had their tent between the once warring Campbells and MacDonalds. Ian Dixon says after losing much of their lands in Scotland 300 years ago, the clans spread out across the globe, often under different surnames.
A lot of Dixons settled in Southland. There are Austins around here who were early settlers. Keith itself is quite a rare name.
Dixon also demonstrated the use of 18th century broadswords and a shield called a tagi.
Tagi weighs about as much as a modern rifle, and it's a defensive weapon made of soft wood, leather, and on the back normally fur and some kind of padding, and nailed up to turn a blade. So these are called total melee weapons because they can be used in all sorts of ways. So if I'm fighting you, I don't want to hack your arms and legs off. I actually want to stab you in your soft parts. So I'll aim for the belly, the lower part. And if you're armed like this, that's hard to defend.
Yeah.
It's called a total melee weapon because if I get too close to cut you, I just got to punch you with the basket hilt. And so much so that this little piece of the basket hilt is known as the nose breaker. And if you're a short person, I won't even do that. As I go by, I'll give you a whack on the top of the head with this.
The gathering of the clans at the Hororata Highland Games has grown from 3 clans in 2012 to 21 this year. The event was first held to help the small rural community recover from the then recent Canterbury earthquakes. Organisers of this year's Games overcame uncertainty to help the community recover from the COVID-19 lockdown earlier this year. In Hororata, the South Today.
After the break on the South Today, we take a look at a South Otago couple who are living the dream, and we check out your weather across the South tomorrow. So see you soon.
A poorly maintained heat pump can lose up to 35% of its output. The Mr. Heat Pump Cleaner team are experts. Their specially developed chemical wash is totally biodegradable. Call Mr. Heat Pump Cleaner and get the job done by the professionals.
If you're at risk of developing melanoma skin cancer, you owe it to yourself to have a mole map. Mole map is coming to your area. Phone today to make an appointment. It could save your life.
Every reason, every season, we're proud to dress the region. Alex Campbell Menswear, it fits.
The business community is very important to the Otago region, and Forsyth Bar, we've been in business for over 80 years. So we feel strongly about growth in the region, and we're therefore pleased to be associated with the Westpac Otago Business Awards. Forsyth Bar's business falls within this category, and it's even an appropriate fit for us to sponsor this category and celebrate business success with the award nominees.
Step into Shop on Carol and discover a shop full of treasures. We have a fantastic range of vintage and retro clothes, upmarket clothing labels, collectible items, beautiful jewellery, quality linen and the best range of vintage haberdashery.
Hi, Campbell Menswear. We're back in George Street on the corner of Hanover Street. Come and check out our big store. It's a big space full of bargains. Now look at these shirts. There's shirts for everybody here. Look at these merino pullovers, stacks of moleskins, literally tons of trousers. Check out these big racks of sports jackets. Beautiful.
Every reason, every season, we're proud to dress the region. Alex Campbell Menswear, it fits.
So come and check out Alex Campbell Menswear. We're back on George Street in the old ANZ building.
Ah, TV, our favourite babysitter. But it can be tough keeping up with what our tamariki are watching. Luckily, the Broadcasting Standards Authority has made some smart changes to the classification labels. Ooh! Plus changes to the time of day certain rated shows will air, and awesome new parental lock features, meaning your babysitter's job is safe. Find out more at safeviewing.co.nz.
Thanks for staying with us. It may not make them millionaires, but a South Otago couple have realised their dream of opening an art gallery. Peter and Beth Linklater have harboured a lifelong passion for art and now finally have a place to display their creative work.
After a life of hard toil on their farm, the South Otago wife and husband are about to realise a long-held dream of opening their own boutique art gallery. This Sunday, Peter and Beth Linklater will open the Art Nuggets Gallery in an old smoker room on their Paratai farm. Peter has been painting since he was a teenager and uses it as a way to escape from the hard toil of farm work. And Beth has been harbouring a desire to open a gallery of some sort since taking a mixed media art class about 15 years ago. With the farm taking priority, Peter and Beth had to put their artistic pursuits to one side, but now with more time on their hands, they are free to work on their creations, with much of their artwork influenced by the surrounding Catlin scenery.
Here we have a painting of Papatawai, one of my favourite wee spots on this part of the world. It's a glorious sight in the summer when the rata's out, so I went down one day, took some photos and come home and produced that. So it's just a special wee place.
This is taken along the bar from the Cruiser River mouth. It's about halfway between the river mouth and Port Montague, looking towards the Kaitangata Hills. And it's just a scene that took my eye one day when Beth and I were sketched. Turned out quite different to mine, but I worked up a painting from it, and I think it's turned out quite good. Yeah.
The gallery at 34 Factory Road near Balclutha opens to visitors on Sunday. And Balclutha, the South Today.
And now it's time to recap today's top stories on the South Today. Dunedin's first co-housing development is nearing completion, with residents hoping to move in early next year. A Dunedin Commerce student and representative rower is in training for a rather long trip this summer. And a retired couple attempting to beautify a car park along the North Otago coast have been set back by thieves for a second time. And now look at what's happening in tomorrow's ODT. Welcome, Hayden Meikle. What have you got for us in tomorrow's paper?
Good evening, Mel. Well, it's quite a big paper, which is good. There's all sorts of news happening. Our lead story at this stage is about power prices and Aurora Energy. So the Commerce Commission's draft decision was released today, looking into Aurora and its charges, and there's a lot of strong stuff in there. I guess the message that most of us will be taking away is that our power prices could get a bit of a hike next year, anywhere from sort of 200 to 800 for heavy power users. That's extra dollars per year. The Commerce Commission has had a few harsh words indeed for Aurora Energy, saying it needs to use its resources more efficiently. It's proposing shaving tens of millions of dollars off what Aurora is planning to spend on its network. Even so, looks like power prices are going to be going up. So interesting, that'll be well read, and here's hoping it provokes a whole lot of letters to the editor for my page in the coming weeks. I'm sure it will.
Well, hopefully it does, because I mean, like, everyone's had a bit of a rough year, as an understatement, with 2020. So
Indeed.
for this to come on top of that is something that people can't escape.
Absolutely. The other big issue, hospital demolition ongoing obviously, but confirmed today, consent has been granted for full demolition of the area that's needed. Obviously the Cadbury building, heritage listed, so had to get consent. That's been granted. The project is actually ahead of schedule, and they're saying, I think by June next year, everything that needs to be demolished for that hospital will be demolished. So prepare for lots more noise in the coming months and years in this building. And then breaking news, obviously COVID-19. So another community case announced today up north. At this stage they're saying Auckland is still the centre. They're encouraging people in Auckland to either work from home tomorrow or wear masks into town. They seem reasonably confident it's been isolated and they can trace this person, but certainly again a couple of other concerning factors for all of us, even now in this part of the world. We hope that it won't be spreading. So lots more to come, and we'll be keeping an eye out tonight to see if there's any more on that.
Yeah, I wonder if people will start wearing masks a bit more now again.
Yeah, and using
as a precaution.
Using the codes, you know, we've all fallen away. We've all got complacent. There's too many people not using those codes. They're there for a reason. We need to keep that going, avoid complacency, and cross our fingers. So, Oamaru, big week in Oamaru. It's the Victorian Heritage Celebrations. Oamaru's big year, so we've got a lovely photo from Rebecca Ryan for page 1 of the paper tomorrow. And in sport, good news, the Highlanders all back in the All Blacks to play the Pumas this weekend. So Aaron Smith back at halfback and Shannon Frizzell back in there. So yeah, the All Blacks really need to get fired up and smash the Pumas, get back on track.
Fantastic. And you can catch all of that in tomorrow's ODT. And now it's time for a look at the weather.
Tonight's weather proudly brought to you by Mole Map.
Beginning with the southern view of the former Cadbury factory in Dunedin. Looking at the situation, it's going to become warmer over the next few days as northwesterly airflow increases over the region, but colder southwesterly winds and showers are likely for most of next week. Starting at the northwest of the South Island, expect partial cloud with 17 degrees in Greymouth and 16 degrees in Westport. Moving to the northeast, it's mostly sunny in Nelson with 20 degrees and partially cloudy in Blenheim with 21 degrees. In Canterbury, expect partial cloud and highs of 21 degrees in Kaikoura and the same in Christchurch with a high of 22, while Ashburton can expect a warm and sunny 23 degrees. To the southern towns, the Catlins is looking at moderate northeasterlies with some fine weather and a high of 21 degrees. Balclutha is also in for fine weather with moderate northeasterlies and 22 degrees, and Lumsden and Gore are the same with some cloud. Travelling westwards to the Central Lakes, it's moderate northwesterlies and fine conditions for most of the area, with 22 degrees in Queenstown, 23 degrees in Wanaka and the region high of 25 degrees in Alexandra. Tiana can expect moderate westerlies with some cloud and 18 degrees. To the northern towns, light northeasterlies and fine weather on the coast, with Timaru a high of 18 and Oamaru looking at 17. Twizel and Amarama both reach 22 degrees with moderate northwesterlies. In Dunedin, fine with some cloud tonight and an overnight low of 7. It's going to be warmer tomorrow with mostly sunny skies and some moderate northeasterlies, looking at a high of 17 and a low of 9. While it's warmer northeasterlies freshening on Saturday with some high cloud increasing, looking at a high of 23 and a low of 13. And in Invercargill, some cloud tonight with an overnight low of 8. It's fine tomorrow with sunny periods, looking at moderate to mild northwesterlies, a high of 15 and a low of 9. And on Saturday, it is mainly light warm weather with some moderate northeasterlies, a high of 20 and a low of 13. And that's all for our news for this Thursday. For the latest news from the southern region, head online to odt.co.nz or follow Channel 39 on Facebook and YouTube. Thanks for joining us. Ka kite anō.
This bulletin proudly brought to you in association with Alex Campbell's Menswear.
Supporting local content so you can see more of New Zealand on air.